FitTok is literally failing you, and I want to talk about why. We've got influencer lies, fake weights, injuries and how they happen, and how good form can actually cause injuries in the first place. And then the big story, Tia has ditched CrossFit for Hyrox, which is huge. We're going to go through a load of TikTok videos that have recently come up on my algorithm. Granted, this is my algorithm, so it'll probably be a lot different to yours. So grab your tea, I've got echinacea today. This is going to be quite a long one, and let's catch up with what's been going on. Some of this honestly is absolutely insane. I've got an AI one which freaked me out so much, but I haven't watched these in a while, so I'll probably be like freshly reacting because I've got a terrible memory. This first one is from Laura Gerard, I think is how you say it.
I just can't take people seriously when they're like, people need to know that they need to be exercising, that they need to be eating better. Like, people know. Who do you think doesn't know? People know that eating healthy, whatever that means, is good for them. People know that moving their body is good for them. They need education about how to implement that successfully. They don't really need awareness, so I don't know who you're yelling at. Back in his sandwich phase, by the way. We live in a food apartheid system. CC Nutrition Low, she's who I learned that term from. I used food desert before, but that suggests it's natural, and it's not. It's a man-made caste system. People want to get all bootstrappy about health, thinking there's this imaginary person that has a salad waiting, prepared, and sitting in front of them and is going, no, I think I'll have this bag of chips instead. Making a salad takes time. Acquiring a salad takes money. Having the ingredients on hand to make a salad requires a certain amount of time flexibility. Making a salad that is enjoyable to eat requires a certain amount of food education. Sometimes people need caloric density because they don't know where the next meal is coming from. In that case, a $1 bag of chips is going to look a hell of a lot more appealing. The problem is not that there's not enough inspiring gym content. People can't apply the things you're yelling at them about. Grown adults don't respond to nagging and shame. For every 20-year-old with a remote part-time job and campus gym access and a Gymshark contract, there is a single mom working rotating nighttime double shifts who has a chronic illness where she doesn't know what her energy levels are going to be day to day, who has a bunch of more important things in her life, like taking care of people or cleaning up her house or studying for something. You're not helping anybody by going, well, have you thought about going to the gym? Who is that for? I train hundreds of people all over the world. I chose to focus on that side of my business instead of charging people hundreds of dollars per hour for my time to private train them in New York. I chose to focus on the version where I could charge people $25 a month to make good fitness education accessible. And that's still not affordable for a lot of people. I would love to lower that price. But I can tell you, not a single one of those people has never heard, oh, maybe you should exercise more. Just be so serious.
Yeah. And I think in some people's head, I am that imaginary person that's saying no to a salad. I love salad, and sometimes I do have time to prepare salads, and my salads are epic. They are so tasty and so healthy. But let's touch on a mum perspective for a second, because she mentioned the single mum with the chronic illness. And single mums, I have no idea how you do it. You're amazing, you're superheroes. But let's also think about mums generally. Many mums are literally carrying the load of the entire household, often whilst working as well, because so many men in our culture have been socialized to think that they can go to work, come home and not actually be involved in their child's life. In so much of society, it is seen that the entire job of parenting falls on the mother. Some won't change nappies or share the nights. Some won't even help out with the feeding if they can, or take care of the mother at least while she is feeding the baby if she's breastfeeding. And many men in households won't look after the children while the mother does something simple and goes to the gym for an hour. She can't even leave the house. Most of us have to ask permission to have a shower. And I'm talking about most of the people that I work with, like my clients, the experiences that they have. This is not my personal experience because my partner is amazing, and before we decided to have children, we decided we were going to split it 50-50 as much as humanly possible. But those expectations are still falling on me a lot of the time from society. When you go to the gym, it's like, oh, where's your child? And on the rare occasion for some of these mums that the dad does say that they will look after their children, often they call them a million times, or they need a list as long as your arm just to parent for an hour, which is insane to me. And then I've seen some of the dads that are open about 50-50 parenting getting backlash from men saying that that's a feminine thing to do, and honestly just being completely ridiculous about it. It's not that mums don't know that they need to go to the gym and eat healthy, it's that often they don't have the time because they are carrying so much more than anyone else in society. And then we've also got people with chronic illnesses, people with busy jobs, people with longer commutes to places. I live in the UK and everything is quite evenly spaced. I can literally drive 15 minutes to the gym, 30 minutes to the shop. It's all quite reasonably distanced, but I know in the US it can be literal hours. We don't need more motivational fitness content, and I know that's hypocritical because I post motivational fitness content on my Instagram, but it's so hard to tackle the actual issue that so many people don't have time. And I think the only way we can do that is by empowering them to set boundaries and telling them that, like, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to be that person, and it's okay to step outside of those socially expected gender roles and say, look, I deserve an hour to the gym and you are their dad and you should be able to parent for an hour without me having to plan it all for you. I posted about this on Instagram and I got a lot of people saying, oh, she's using it as an excuse to be fat. But like, I'm not. Like, this is not my reality. My partner is amazing. But I know it's the reality of so many other people, and it's not an excuse, it's a reason. Next, we've got one from The Fitness Chef. I'm gonna have to talk over this because of the audio. So we've got UK versus the US. I love the teeth on the UK. I'll touch on that in a minute. But the calorie difference between these foods is actually insane. Some of them are quite similar, but the milkshakes, that's a lot of difference. Even Fanta, that's the sugar tax thing. We have what's called a sugar tax in the UK, which means that fizzy drinks and stuff are taxed more if they have more sugar, so they decrease the sugar so they make more money off it. See, even the cookies more, and they look exactly the same. In fact, the UK cookie looked bigger. Wow, so the total 3,205 calories versus 2,200. And the food is exactly the same virtually. Yeah, and he's pouring sugar. There's a lot more sugar and a lot higher levels of fat in the US versions. Yeah, he points out the sugar tax. Brands started using lower calorie sweeteners. The USA has more calories but less protein in their Big Mac. That's because fat tastes better and they use more fat in their burgers. See, that's the thing. You can eat the exact same thing in a different country or a different food environment, and it can be worth so many more calories. And I personally don't eat a lot of fast food. I know that trolls in my comments like to pretend that I do, which is ridiculous. Probably have fast food like 5 times a year at most. And also I'm from the UK, like I feel like that's an assumption of people that live in the US, which is probably false, but I don't do that. We don't have a lot of fast food places around me. Like, the takeaway choices are very, very slim. When I was in the US, oh my god, I did spend so much food on Deliveroo, or what was it, DoorDash? You have DoorDash, so cool. But I had to add on, like, nothing has vegetables in it, and I had to add on like sides of vegetables to most things just in order to feel okay, because I feel horrendous if I don't eat healthy, honestly. But that's a great lesson. Food is different in different places, and we can't necessarily blame the people for what food they're eating if they're not educated on how much energy density, calories is in the food. And that doesn't mean that we need calorie labels. That means we need more education around food and what different kinds of food does for you. It doesn't mean we should cut out fast food. It just means that we need to encourage people to eat more and make it more accessible for people to eat more healthy foods, because accessibility is one of the big ones. Oh, and this touches on the same point. Unpopular opinion, maybe the real gold diggers are the people that expect you to take care of them, clean their house, wash and iron their clothes, give birth to their children, manage their emotions, and on top of that, go to work and contribute 50-50 to expenses. Yeah. So this guy is obviously calling out men that expect that of women and then also expect them to contribute 50-50. I am not against trad wives and the idea that you could like stay at home and then your partner go to work and then you take care of the house. But I do think that that job sort of ends at the end of the work day. Like, a stay-at-home wife shouldn't work 24/7 when her partner only works 9 to 5. Different argument altogether. That is a huge problem, and that is the problem I'm talking about above when I'm referencing how much limited time mums have. And it's so easy to say you should just work out when your baby naps or work out with your baby, but every baby is different, and working out during naps chaos. Like, you have no idea how hard that is because you don't know how long the nap is going to last. It depends what age they are. And working out with your baby, some babies just cry when you put them down, and no, that doesn't mean that you can just pick them up and do a full workout, because they will cry halfway through you doing one exercise and then you have to change movements. It's not going to be a good movement. It's not going to be good exercise. And also, I always find the men that are more concerned about gold diggers often don't have a very well paying job, so that actually makes no sense at all. Oh, this is insane. Right.
Oh, nice.
You know, that's like light as a feather.
Right,
but
right.
There's like that thing in our world to where, you know, you'll notice like an empty coffee cup and someone's just like, man, it looks fake. Or they pick up a big bag of like $10 million and they just carry it like nothing.
Right.
So we want some like actual weight in. So these 80s are like actually like 15s.
Really? Let me see. Oh shit. Oh god damn.
So you get a little bit of struggle. They're real popular with like the TikTok like fitness influencers.
Shut the fuck. Are you
For
serious?
real? Yeah.
Everything's fake.
Nothing's real.
Everything's fake.
Trust anything on the
So this is what I have at home, to be honest. Oh.
So fake weights are a real thing. I actually get the fake weights accusation quite a lot on my TikTok and Instagram because I'm really strong and people don't like that. And I use bumper plates because often I work out in CrossFit gyms, and even the commercial gym that I go to, they have bumper plates because we have Olympic weightlifters, people that need to be able to drop the bar and for it to not break the floor. That's the entire point of bumper plates. It's not so they look bigger, it's not so we look like they're lifting more. It's very clear on the side of the plate how much the weight is, and that weight is accurate. They're bumper plates so that you can drop them. I really hate that rubbish when they're like, oh, if you can't put it down gently, then you shouldn't be lifting it. I mean, like, go to the Olympics, like look at the Olympic weightlifting. They're not putting that down gently. You can't put down a max lift down gently. Idiot. But yeah, I am shocked to find out that fake weights are actually a real thing, and if there are loads of people on Instagram and TikTok using fake weights to make themselves look stronger, it's just another way that they are lying to the entire industry, on top of the PED use and everything else. By the way, by PED or like steroids, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, injectables to enhance how they look. A lot of people are doing that. But the thing is, the bottom line is that you shouldn't be comparing yourself to people online. And if you're looking at the weights that somebody else is lifting and feeling bad about yourself because they're stronger than you, that might be something that you need to work on internally. I know it's hard to feel like you're not as strong as you want to be, but that feeling in itself, that internal self-comparison, you'll get so much more out of working on that and how you feel bad about yourself when you see someone doing better than you, being stronger than you. If you just figure that out instead of obsessing over trying to be as good as or as big as or as strong as some of these fitness influencers, because you'll never make it. There will always be someone stronger than you. So this next one is from Alex Light. Oh, I've got her book up there. This video is terrifying.
A woman who doesn't have sex deserves to be cheated on.
That isn't me.
She gained weight around her waist. Her face changed.
This video is fake. That's not my voice. I never said those words. Deepfake me goes on to claim to be a women's health specialist and promote a herbal supplement, one that I've never even heard of.
As a women's health specialist, I always recommend a simple, all-natural option. That solution? Moringa.
Fortunately, this kind of thing is becoming disturbingly more frequent, and it's really dangerous.
Tree of life, used for thousands of years, finally backed by modern science.
Someone sent me this and it's really disturbed me. It's like it feels violating, and I know that the voice is off and the lips look weird at times, but you could be mistaken for thinking that that is actually me. And the opening line they've made me say is purposely horrific and designed to hack the algorithm for the optimal amount of views. Scary because it means that we're now living in a world where things like this are so easy to do and so hard to spot. We have to question everything. If you see this video, I'd love if you could report it too. Thank you so much.
That's literally terrifying. And one of the things I realised this week actually is I've been in therapy since 2014 and I'm currently in therapy. And in therapy, we spoke about my intrusive thoughts, and if something scares you and plays on your fears, you're more likely to pay attention to it. And she listed out a load of things. It was like, if it feels like it's about you, if it plays on a fear, if it means you're a bad person, like there are loads of reasons why you might pay attention to an intrusive thought. And I looked at that list and I was like, holy shit, these are all the things that really work as a hook on social media. So that makes total sense. Like, if something scares you, and she's talking about a woman being cheated on because she put weight on her waist and her face changed. Like, if that's something that you're scared about, that your partner will cheat on you if you gain weight, you're going to pay attention to that video. And all of social media is set up that way. We are taught to kind of hack the algorithm and put a hook in the first 3 seconds so that we capture your attention. And if it's something that plays on a certain fear, then you're going to pay attention to it more. That's not something that I personally do, but I do use hooks, and I do it in a different way. I actually use hooks that people will disagree with. So fitness isn't a look. That's one that I use quite a lot, and that really annoys people. But it's true. Fitness is not a look. It's a testable thing. But we're all doing it. All of the Instagram influencers, all of the content creators, they're doing it. They're using those hooks to grab your attention. But what is so terrifying is she didn't say that, and that is a deep fake version of her. And Alex's page is actually so body positive and like body acceptance. So it's crazy that she has been used. But of course the podcast format works for it because you assume that she might be well respected. They have a lot of like doctors and professionals on podcasts, so that assumption can be made. But yeah, it's terrifying. Anything that you see online, I've seen so much AI stuff recently, it's scary. And you can sometimes tell by their pattern of speech, or like she said, the lips look a bit off. If you can do anything for yourself, honestly, learn when you're being sold to and when somebody is trying to use your emotions to sell you something, and that will save you from pretty much anything, whether it's fake or not. So Lucy Reeves, we've got next. Sorry to trigger some of you, but yes, this is my fittest and healthiest body. And this is exactly what I'm saying. See, so she's got like a certain level of body fat. Her body is very normal looking. When she bends over, she's got rolls in her stomach. She's literally training for an Ironman, and she got a comment saying, "You don't look like you train for an Ironman." She's hitting crazy long distances on runs and swims. She's just finished a marathon training block. She is a fit person. But what is absolutely crazy is people will look at her and say, "You don't look fit." And this is the thing. Fitness is not a look. It's a testable thing. And if she completes an Ironman or runs marathon distances or swims crazy distances, she is fit. There's no two ways about it. She's a fit person. And it's so funny because people say that I'm trying to change the definition of fitness, and like, no. If the definition of fitness was looks, then the military wouldn't have to do a fitness test, like neither would the fire service or the police service. Like the fittest on earth, CrossFit, that wouldn't exist. You just look at people, wouldn't you? It would be a bodybuilding contest. Like, fitness isn't a look. That's a fact. And it always has been. The only people trying to change the definition are the people that want it to be a look because they've spent their entire life trying to pursue a look that they believe is fit. And I've heard a couple of the bigger accounts have like reacted to my videos lately, and I gather they're just saying stuff like, "You're fat, you're not fit." But it's because they are within that category of people that have spent their entire life trying to look a certain way instead of pursuing health, fitness and longevity, which is what I pursue. They can do whatever they want with their body, that is up to them. But the reason they have a problem with my message is because of what they are trying to pursue, and they want that to be fit. And it's still testable. It doesn't change that. So now we've got Liz. I sometimes agree with her stuff, sometimes I don't agree with her stuff. She's an athlete, like a hybrid athlete. So it says, "I stopped training like a man and look what happened to my body." She's kind of quoting other people on the internet and what they say. And it's usually the Pilates princesses that are like, "I stopped doing HIIT and now I'm more skinny." That's what she's referring to. And then it says, "No, you stopped doing HIIT, aka unstructured high intensity group fitness 6 times a week while under eating and living off iced coffee. Men don't train that way. The fitness industry programmed women to think that was how to train, that more equals better and thinner. Hot take, most women would do better if they actually trained more like men, aka followed progressive lifting plans and more balanced cardio." And honestly, she is bang on with that. I do fitness classes now. I used to do CrossFit, obviously that is a fitness class, but I also do stuff like spinning. And I've met a lot of women recently that also do fitness classes, but so many of them are even doing like 2 in a day. They're doing like 6-7 days a week. They're doing so much, and it's so much high intensity. And that was a big problem with CrossFit for me, is it was too much high intensity and I needed more lower level, steadier state stuff. And I found that I get more progressively fit if I actually focus on more steady state cardio, which is science backed. I've even got a book on it here, 80-20 running. Basically, the 80-20 method works for triathlon training or any form of endurance training for better cardio. Read it if you want to find out more. One of the problems with CrossFit is it's not updated its knowledge to fit with the actual science. So they still go high intensity most of the time, and they'll say that they don't, but when your workouts are only 15 minutes long or less for the majority of the time, it's almost impossible to get decent zone 3 training in there. There are a lot of people doing that kind of thing. There are a lot of people doing like functional fitness classes in regular gyms or HIIT classes or whatever you want to call it, the class kind of training, and going super hard, and you don't really make much progress. Your body starts to adapt to that kind of high intensity, and it's not progressive. There is no progressive overload in there. It's just pushing and pushing and pushing and burning yourself out. Like in my programs, I include progressive overload, and everything works on 6-week cycles so that you increase the weights you're lifting in a certain lift, or there's like tempos and pause stuff to make sure by the end of the 6 weeks you are lifting slightly more, and then that continues. One of the reasons a lot of people don't like to do that is because they feel like it's not varied enough and they get bored, and that's honestly a big shame because it just means you won't see as much progress. And I think a lot of the time it feels like you're not doing as much as when you're in a HIIT class and you're pushing it super hard, or you're in a CrossFit class and you're maxing out every week. It doesn't feel like you're doing as much. So a lot of women don't want to train like that, and they find it really difficult to get out the mindset of more is better. But then maybe some of them that are like, oh, maybe I should just do Pilates and be a bit more chill about it, are getting out of that mindset. But they've decided that they just want to completely go away from weightlifting in high intensity, which is totally valid if that's what they want to do. They're missing this sort of nuanced middle ground where they could just actually train in a progressive way and balance their intensity across the week, and they would see better progress. That's basically what she's trying to say in a really long-winded way. So next, where are the gym girls?
Where are all the gym girls hanging out, like, outside of the gym?
I haven't read Quicksilver yet. Let me know, is it good? I do have like a fantasy fitness training program that has its whole world. I used to be an art teacher, so I've got a massively creative background, and I've basically designed this entire fantasy world based on all of our favorite characters and the best fan theories, and then training that feels like battle prep. And it's all in there. It's a whole thing. I'd have to talk for ages about it to explain it to you. But yeah, that's where we are. I'm currently reading Onyx Storm. I'm obsessed with the Fourth Wing trilogy as well. Oh, I don't know, it's not trilogy, is it? There's going to be more books. And I have noticed more and more gym girls are posting this and saying that outside the gym they're reading as well. I thought we were like a really small niche, but it turns out we're not. I am kind of tempted to do a book talk video, but again, most of my content is like fitness based, so I don't know if we want that. But maybe I could do like a fitness book talk one and include some of the books that are great for training and great for inspiration, and then some of the content that's out there. Let me know if you want to see that, if you're a book talk girly. And I could also deep dive into some of the like problematic stuff, and also some of the weird men that are trying to get on book talk. I think it could be interesting, but it depends if you like that. But yeah, that's totally true. I'm reading anytime I'm not parenting or in the gym. So next we've got the sober bodybuilder. I think I've heard of him. I've seen him pop up every so often. Brad Jensen.
I have been going to the gym for 3 days now for the first time ever, because I always thought it would be scary. And there are a bunch of big muscly dudes there. Scary, right? No. Because as soon as they're done lifting the weights, they all go over to the mirror together and they make these muscle poses, and they're like, your arms are so big and strong. No, your arms are so big and strong. They have these things, I'm not lying to you, this is real, called pump covers. Apparently when you haven't worked out for a day or so, like your muscles look a little smaller. And so these guys show up to the gym wearing super baggy sweatshirts and stuff. They're like, don't look at me, like, don't look at my muscles right now. And then when they're a couple reps in, they take their sweatshirts off and they're like, okay, you can look. They make friends there. They make friends. There's this thing called spotters, where a guy goes up to another guy and he's like, I think this weight might be too heavy for me. Can you watch and make sure I'm safe? And then they take turns, and one guy lifts the weight and the other guy's like, you got this, one more rep. And then if he doesn't have it, he helps him out, and he's like, oh, you were so close, I just know it, you'll do better next time. The gym is so fuck?
This is so true. The pump covers are real. It's not just if you haven't worked out in a day. It's just we want to get some blood flow, and then we feel good about showing off the body. But it takes us usually about 4 or 5, maybe 6, 7 sets, and then we take the pump cover off. Every guy that tried to get into lifting to get girls' attention, once they find out that all they'll get is other guys' attention, they're a little disappointed at first, but then we just kind of accept it. That was a great depiction of what the gym is actually like. Don't be scared of the gym.
Oh my god, I love that. Her description is it's so sweet. I love that for men. I love that they have that community, and it's really nice. I don't understand them working out for aesthetics, but if it works for them, totally power to them. And do you know what? It is nice, and women need spotters as well. It is nice. The encouragement, saying that you'll get it next time, when they fail, that's lovely. The kind of support men have for other men. And also, for the record, the biggest, strongest dudes in most gyms are usually the nicest, and they're not scary. They may look scary, and sometimes some of them can almost portray themselves as a bit more intimidating, but most of the time they're nice people. What I don't like is gym bros in my comment sections, because 99% of the time they are bodybuilders, and also obviously the ones that troll me online, that do the ones with the big platforms, that do the videos, also bodybuilders. So in my head there is a bit of a negative stereotype, but there are also loads of people in real life. They're nice, they're lovely, and he seems like a nice guy as well. And he's so right that the attention that most of them get isn't from women, it's from other men. And the reasoning for that is because that hyper masculine, super muscly physique is more male gaze than it is female gaze. Superheroes and stuff, all of those physiques are designed by men, and I'll touch on it in another video in the future. But for the most part, women tend to and there's been studies on this where they literally selected which ones they preferred, tend to men that have slightly higher body fat and aren't the bodybuilder physique. So yeah, the men that really appreciate that and think maybe they want to look like them, they are going to be the people that you get the attention from, and that's not a bad thing. But I find that topic interesting in itself. I won't rant any longer. We've got Josh Taylor.
Nearly 4 years ago, I herniated a disc doing RDLs. I couldn't train. I could barely bend over without my lower back screaming like a toddler in Tesco. But no fancy treatments, no cupping, no acupuncture, not even as much as a massage. Just movement and patience, and then last week, I hit lifetime PB. The injury happened during a lift that I just was not ready for. But the real kick in the dick came about 2 days later. I bent down to pick up a dog toy in my mum's living room and then dropped like a glitchy NPC. So I took a couple weeks off while I moved around like my anus hugged a cactus, but quickly got back to basics, rack pulls, light deadlifts, and eventually pause RDLs. But also trained what I used to avoid: flexion, rotation, side bends, but not to fix my back, to build confidence in it. I had flare-ups, setbacks, but I never blamed the lift, because pain isn't about any one exercise, it's about capacity. Genetics, lifestyle, stress and worry all plays in you feeling more fragile than a cotton candy condom. But now I just hit 220 kilos, pain-free, no gimmicks, just with progression, consistency, and staying out my own head. If your back hurts, don't fear movement. Start light, train what you're avoiding, because your spine isn't fine china. It will adapt. And if this helped shift your mindset, you might like what else I put out, so maybe drop me a follow.
Yeah, so what he said there was super important. Your spine isn't fine china. And sorry, I laughed when he was doing the crossing off. It said beat meat, and he didn't cross that, and I just read it midway, and it probably looked insensitive if you're watching my reaction back, because he was talking about his back injury. But he's quite funny. He'll like put in these little things that you might not see the first time round, but that was the only time I noticed it. With the training flexion and extension and all those different kind of movement patterns, that's something that I know people are scared of, and a lot of the time, like, I get comments like, your form is terrible. My form isn't terrible, especially when I'm deadlifting. It's pretty good. I've worked on it for quite a long time, especially, and Olympic weightlifting as well. People think Olympic weightlifting in itself is bad form because it uses momentum, which is ridiculous. Training in those ways, training explosively, training flexion, extension, training with kettlebells, doing movements that are rotational, that move your body in different ways that it's not used to, will help stop your back from doing things like that. Training those ranges of motion and actual movement the way it happens in real life will prevent injuries like that. So that's why it's so important. And also making sure you're stretching in those ranges of motion, but also building strength in those ranges of motion. I think a lot of people miss out on that, and that's why people think that things like deadlifts or deadlifting heavy is scary, because yeah, you will injure yourself if all you're doing is deadlifting heavy with a perfectly flat spine and not doing any other movements that train any other dimension. You might end up picking up something and bending in a way that you're not used to bending when you're doing a deadlift, and it could put your back out. Personally, I've done CrossFit and I've done lots of movements like kettlebell swings, snatches, all of the momentum lifting that people think is bad form inherently, and I've basically never been injured. I have been injured. I tore the ligaments in my ankle because at 6 a.m. I decided to go and do some bodybuilding. I wanted a bigger bum at the time. This was back when I was skinny and I had an eating disorder, and I was doing box step ups, but like up and over the box, and I slipped, fell, and like twisted my ankle in ways and tore every single ligament. And I then, because I didn't give a shit about myself and I'd already paid for the holiday, went on a skiing holiday because I was like, well, the boot that they've given me to hold my foot in place is the same as a ski boot, so I can still ski. And I skied on it for a week, and when I got home my foot was completely black and I'd injured it even further because I'm an idiot. That was several years ago though, and I don't do that anymore. But that, yeah, I'm barely ever injured, and that was probably the only time in the last 9 years that I've done functional fitness training that I have actually been injured. Whereas I know many people that do sort of heavy deadlifts and don't train much else do suffer with injuries. Next we've got a Hyrox one. I did my Hyrox in January, I loved it, and I really want to do another one, but I'm struggling to get tickets. This is on wall balls. How to beat everyone at wall balls in Hyrox. Can you spot the difference? I can. I'm gonna play it through a couple of times and let's see if you can spot the difference, and then I will tell you in a minute, okay? So we'll give it one more run through. See, the one on the right is definitely moving faster, but why is he moving faster? Oh, I hope it's the right. It might not be the right for you because I'll flip it. The guy on the right, or my right, it's probably going to be this side, which would be left. I'm really sorry, my left and right are terrible. The one that's moving faster is moving faster because on the way down, he's actually moving before the ball reaches him. The one on the other side, he's waiting for the ball to get to him before he catches it. So if you want to speed up your wall balls, basically move down while the ball is still in the air and then catch it lower down. You can actually do this so you catch it in the squat and you're almost like guiding it down with your hands rather than actually holding it. And that actually makes it less energy as well. I can do massive sets of wall balls, not at the end of Hyrox. I was doing very small sets at the end of Hyrox because I was dead, and I did the women's pro and I was exhausted and there was loads of other stuff going on as well. I was very unwell, I had cold. It was bad. It was bad, very bad. But on a regular day, I could probably do 100 wall balls unbroken if I really pushed myself. In a workout, I can do 20 to 30 easy. I am a tall person, so I do have a slight advantage. But yeah, that's what he's doing. He's meeting the wall ball like on the way down. As it's descending, he's moving down with it, and that is the only way you can speed up wall balls without cheating the height. And this is something that I have known for years because I used to compete in CrossFit quite a lot, and in one of the CrossFit competitions I was in the final, and in the final they had wall balls and the other team started with a 5-second advantage, and the only way to get faster wall balls is to do that, and if they're also doing that, you can't get faster, so you have to beat them on the other movements. But that was one thing that I made sure I did. So yeah, interesting. And there are loads of things that you can do if you are somebody that does Hyrox to improve your Hyrox time. You can improve your running, that's a really important one, but with the movements like the rower, a lot of people get the mechanics of rowing really, really wrong. You can adapt that. The skier, lunges and burpees and everything else, not so much. It kind of depends on your body and how you move and what you struggle with. But with some of the movements, those of us that have come from a CrossFit background have a bit of an advantage because we know how to make the movements the most efficient possible because we've been doing those movements for years, and that's why CrossFitters, when they come into Hyrox, tend to find those movements easier, but they do struggle with the running because CrossFitters typically don't love running. And next we've got Tia Toomey, who is absolutely smashing Hyrox lately, and she is doing doubles. And actually, do you know what, I did a video a while back that was why CrossFitters do doubles in Hyrox, and it was because it links closest to CrossFit because it's on and off, high intensity, and then you get a rest when you do doubles, but the solo races are far longer and it's just like continuous medium-ish intensity, which is not so much the ballpark of CrossFitters. And Tia actually said that in her latest YouTube video, so if you didn't believe me, go back and watch it. The goat herself said that exact thing, and that's why she's currently doing doubles. Let's watch the latest video though. This is just the Instagram upload.
It's time to celebrate.
Tia-Clair Toomey, like greatest CrossFit athlete.
As most of you know, in May, I'm taking the floor at the Torium Pro, but this time it's different. This time, it's my moment to say goodbye to this chapter. This sport has given me everything. Every challenge, every triumph,
dominance that is Tia Toomey,
and most importantly, the incredible community that surrounds it. Competing to be the most dominant athlete in CrossFit history has been my life, my passion and my purpose, and it's shaped me in ways I could never have imagined. But I'm always going to remember and be so grateful for the love, the lessons, and the legacy I will continue on striving to build. Now it feels only right to bring it full circle, celebrating where it all began in the place that ignited the drive and determination to pursue this path. So join me in this exciting time doing what we love and surrounded by the amazing energy my home crowd brings year after year.
So she did say it's time to say goodbye and close this chapter, which is the most confirmation we're probably going to get that Tia Toomey is retiring, because she does that. She'll kind of say it without saying it. And honestly, if she still went on to do the CrossFit Games after saying that, I would not be surprised. She likes to kind of bait and switch, or whatever it's called. But from what it sounds like, she's going to do the Touring Pro, and then that is going to be the end of CrossFit, and she is going to pursue Hyrox, which I think is so cool. It would be super hard for her to do both, and there are a lot of like CrossFit trolls that will say that it's not and that Hyrox is easy and blah blah blah, but it's because they don't know much about sports science or training or anything like that. Hyrox is predominantly running, and if you want to excel in Hyrox, you need to train a lot of running. Tia herself has confirmed this in her latest YouTube video. She spoke about the volume of running and how much she had to increase that in order to increase her paces. If you're interested in the difference between CrossFit and Hyrox training, definitely just go and listen to her video and her content on it, because she explains it really well. And from experience, if you're one of the CrossFit trolls, you aren't going to listen to me anyway. But Tia is such an inspiring athlete, and she's also a mum, which is amazing. She's incredible, and it's so cool to see that she's taking on this new chapter of Hyrox. Interestingly, as she's getting older, as an older athlete, endurance sports do fit better with older athletes. Your body adapts to endurance-y stuff, especially as a woman in later life, although she's not that old, she's only in her 30s like me. But women do seem to excel in endurance sports over time, so it's a great move, and I honestly hope that we see her like transition from doubles and maybe go for the Elite 15 in Hyrox eventually, when she's like fully moved on from CrossFit. I honestly can't wait to watch the next chapter and see what she does. She's inspired a whole generation of women, and it's so cool. A lot of the time when I talk about sports science stuff, the reason people won't listen to me, even though I have extensive knowledge, and when I was thinner people listened to me, it's because I'm a fat PT. Because I exist in a larger body, people think that my knowledge is not valid for some reason, which honestly is ridiculous. I recently did a video on fat PTs, diet scams, and also the Belle Gibson saga. That was from Apple Cider Vinegar, the Netflix documentary. I've got a few updates of what's been going on with her. If you want to watch that video next, then click here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.